Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Ordinance Committee to order. It's tonight, September 27th at 6:30, and present on the committee are Councilor Lopez, I'm Linda Vacan, and Councilor Bartley. Expected shortly is Councilor Jourdain. In the chambers is also Councilor McGivern. Councilor Lisi has offered acceptance for her absence tonight due to illness, but we appreciate her letting us know. Thank you. Okay, so our first order of business is to, since it was advertised, is to accept a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the public hearing is open to hear a special permit application of Roberta Flores to operate a registered medical marijuana dispensary at 630 Bolio Street in Holyoke. Assessor's map 055, block 00, parcel 003. So we do have a letter from the applicant withdrawing this application. However, since the public hearing had been advertised and the notice came outside of a public hearing, the hearing had to be opened in order for us to officially receive the letter withdrawing the application. So since we have that letter before us, and the letter is now accepted into the record, hang on one second. I don't know if there are any other further questions or comments from members of the committee?
No, I just want to say that I don't think it really costs the city any money to advertise, Madam Chair. I think it costs the city a little bit in staff time, but I think that was pretty nominal. So I would just say maybe you should open up to the public and see if they want to speak or not.
Okay, is there anybody here in attendance that was interested in speaking on the medical marijuana treatment center?
Make a
Hearing
motion to
nothing?
close the whole hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the public hearing is closed and that application is withdrawn.
We need a motion on that, or no?
We need a motion, well, you made a motion to close the public hearing, right?
Yes.
And we already closed it.
Yep.
So we need a motion to, okay.
I'll make that motion to approve the withdrawal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the withdrawal of the application for the marijuana center has been accepted. Thank you very much. Okay,
And
I'll
motion to
accept a
open
motion
the public hearing.
Second. The second one. Yeah.
all in favor?
Aye.
So item 2 is a continuation of a public hearing from the last meeting, and this hearing was filed by Councilor Lopez that the City Council adopt a special permit application for any methadone Suboxone clinics coming to the city. At our last meeting, we had input from our police chief, we had some other information presented, and we have been provided by our able attorney, Attorney Cunha, tonight with a draft on this matter. So I would first like to entertain any questions or comments from members of the committee.
If I may.
Councilor Lopez.
I just want to find out the planning board hearing. We don't have any information. If we close this public hearing, then we will not be able to get anything from them? Or how that will work?
You could receive their recommendation, but
That will be it. We will not be.
they're having their hearing tonight.
Oh, I thought it was last week.
I thought, that was. Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know, it was at 5:40.
I guess we would have known if we studied the web.
Yes.
site.
Yeah. So.
So we have a draft before us, and it has some areas within it which need to be further defined. And we generally had discussed that we would follow along the lines of the marijuana ordinance that we had created relative to zoning and some of the other concerns. And so I think one of the things that we could consider is having this type of activity in the same zone as the marijuana activity that we've already addressed. That would be one approach. There could be more. And then the other things that are left for us to further define are perhaps under 7.113D, where it talks about adequate security measures. You know, in some of our ordinances, I think Counselor Lopez spoke about this before. We have a plan that's approved by the police chief, you know, so that we know it's been reviewed from that point of view. And then under 711.4 conditions, in some of the samples that we were provided, there were a number of distances from other activities that were put into ordinance form to protect zoning boundaries and other similar things. So it is within our realm to take a look at that and further amend this draft ordinance in that regard. If I can, under suspension of rules, could we have a suspension of rules for Attorney Cunha?
Yeah,
to-
so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, Attorney Cunha, as we're getting into looking at dimensions and distances between various things, since we already have one of these programs existing in the city, if we form a draft, then are we able to, after that, make sure that it doesn't become too restrictive? Because we're really not in a position to know if we say 1,000 feet or 5,000 feet, what the net impact of that will be in terms of leaving it as a possibility. And it isn't our goal to prohibit it.
I mean, I guess that's something.
So if we create this draft, then we could consider their feedback in the final,
Well, I think if that's information you want, then
If I may. What I will,
Counselor Lopez.
what I was thinking is doing 5,000 feet across every single line, A through F, E, I'm sorry. You think that will be, we can find out from planning, but I think that if we do 5,000 feet from each, from another facility, any residential zoning or district, and any public or private school, middle school or secondary school. The same thing with churches, library, parks, playground. And then the last one, within 5,000 feet of another licensed establishment. I think that will be,
I honestly, I have no idea. As
So
far
we-
as the distances,
we can try with
Well,
planning.
I think the thing of it is we can create a draft ordinance, and then if it turns out it actually causes a prohibition, then we would have to modify it so that we're not prohibiting it. And I mean, planning should be looking at that if they're looking at this, because that's what they're doing. Apparently, they already did it, so I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what, obviously what planning has looked at their hearing, if there was not anybody there. They likely probably would have continued it again, so I can't say. But I think if you want some kind of, if 5,000 is what's being considered and you wanted, they would obviously have to know which zone, and then they certainly probably could give a map showing that, but
Yeah.
the
Okay.
public hearing would have to be continued.
Okay. Thank you.
He was there.
Are there any other questions from the committee at this point? So if there's members of the public that wish to be heard in this public hearing, if you would come to the microphone, give your name and address, and you can offer comments, input, or opinions relative to this matter. I saw your hand was up. Oh,
I just wanted to say that planning has asked for a continuance. It's just that the planning meeting.
oh, okay.
Oh,
They asked for a continuance until October 25th, so.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so from the audience, for those at home who may be listening, one of our attendees has let us know that Planning Board has continued the hearing to October 21st. Okay.
25th, Linda.
25th? 25th. Thank you. Okay, so then I think I'm hearing an amendment to the draft from a
Yes.
member to make the distances under 7.11.4, 5,000 feet under each area listed, A through F.
Yeah, I'll second it.
And I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then on the matter of the principal use and the table of uses and the need to determine what zones would be allowed for this activity, there has been one idea put forth of IG.
I would like to make a motion that we do it on IG.
Second.
Okay. Is there any other motion relative to the zoning? Any comments? Industrial general. Okay, so we have a motion before us. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So in the draft, we have added that IG would be the zone that this could occur in, and it would be by special permit of the city council. I don't even see.
Can
it.
I
Yeah,
put the
this graph.
condition, can
Oh,
I
here
put
it is.
another condition on the special permit? I just want to make sure that the final security plan is approved by the chief of police. I just want to make sure that it's clearly and it's on this document.
Okay, so that would be found on 7.11.3D.
Yes.
So under D, it reads, "To provide adequate security measures to ensure that no individual participant will pose a direct threat to the health or safety of other individuals." So your amendment you're offering is as approved by
The chief of
the
police.
police
Yep.
chief?
Absolutely. I mean, he's getting,
Do you think we need to be so specific as to state that a plan is presented and approved by the chief of police?
I mean,
Okay.
it's gonna be a special permit, if I may. It's gonna be a special permit. I'd rather get the police chief from the beginning involved and make sure that he knows what he will be facing
Okay.
and dealing with, so.
Okay, so then a plan will be presented and approved, presented to and approved by the police chief.
Thank you.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any other questions or concerns or?
Motion table for now.
So if you want to make the motion to continue the public hearing, we have to have a date certain and a time, so we'll go with the 25th and get back on the same page with the planning board. And
I will second that with a copy of this document to the planning, if it's possible. Can we
6:30.
do that?
Oh,
So we need to find out when.
well. I'm sorry?
Just so you know, they may have continued their.
Yeah.
Well, they're invited to come at 6:30.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the public hearing is continued until 10:25 at 6:30 PM. And so in terms of just procedural, because we're not doing this as a joint hearing, if we present this draft to the planning board prior to the 25th. They'll have an opportunity in their hearing to look it over. The staff will have an opportunity to look at the distances. And so then if they open and close, they could perhaps advise us on the 25th later. Okay,
That's
Okay.
a good deal.
all right. Then we'll make sure that this draft gets over. So, Kara, would you be making sure that gets to them, or do I have, Ryan? I'm sorry? Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, so then we have the hearing continued to the 25th, and I will entertain a motion on item 3, and 4, actually.
Suspend the rules, take item 3 and 4 as package.
Yep, second.
All
Sorry.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So item 3 is a zone change application of Mount Marie property at 34 Lower Westfield Road, Assessors Map 118, Block 00, Parcel 005, from current zone RA to proposed zone RO. And item 4 is a petition for a text change of a zoning ordinance for Mont Marie Property LLC for property address 34 Lower Westfield Road, Assessors Map 118, Block 00, Parcel 005. Text change is as follows. Petitioner is requesting a text change to the zoning ordinance to add for every 5 acres of land area at the end of section 4.3 subsections 22, 24, and 24A on the use chart to allow for the larger buildings on the larger size parcel that can accommodate greater than 2,500 square feet. So this is a continuation of a public hearing, and during that public hearing, we received information, and we were waiting for the planning board to hold their hearing, which we do have the petitioner here. So since the hearing is opened,
And Ellen
Can-
Fryman representing Montmarie. Is this on? And so we just came from the planning board. They closed the public hearing, they voted, they approved it, and they are drafting a letter right now, and they should have it here any minute.
Okay.
So on both the zone change and I have drafts of the letter, but they should be here any minute. So
okay.
guess
And certainly, one of the remaining questions at the last meeting was what consideration or concerns the planning board might have relative to the proposed zone change, and there was a question raised about one versus another, and so,
They also
This is-
have an interpretation from the law department also that they used in their consideration of the vote.
okay.
So, okay.
Okay,
So
thank you.
guess we-
So what is the will of the committee? Would you like us to, can we we can recess the public hearing until they come in? Could I have a motion to that effect?
A motion to recess this public hearing until 7? You think they will be here by 7?
I would say until members of the planning board arrive in the chambers. Yeah?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Okay, the public hearing is recessed until planning board members arrive. Okay, so now we are on to item 5. If I can have a motion?
Motion to take up item 5.
Second.
All in favor? That item was filed by Council Roman. Order that a bus stop on 68 Cabot Street be moved in front of 50 to 60 Cabot Street. And I see we have our engineer Yem Lip with us. If you can come on in, your timing was perfect. The only thing is you may have to suffer a slight interruption. But thank you. So thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
And we'll give you the microphone.
Okay, so this is order to move the bus stop at 68 Cabot Street. I spoke with Josh Rickman of the PVTA. They're okay with moving this location, so not an issue at all. They're actually looking to combine to make it more efficient with another bus stop, and it's on the same route. So.
Okay. Council Roman, do you have anything you wish to?
No, this is welcome news, both this order and the order Preceding this order were originated from the residents, from the constituents of the senior tower, Boudry Bouchot, and this came as a result of too many people being in front of the buildings, and the need for handicap spots and emergency parking only vehicles. There's a few times where in the buildings, the bus stops there, and if there's needs to be an ambulance, they can't access the building. So I'm very grateful to hear that PVTA is willing to move it, and this is from the residents. Thank you.
Make a motion to be approved and sent to the law department and put in a legal form.
All in favor? Aye.
Make a motion to take item 6 off the table.
All in favor? Item 6, filed by Counselor Roman, order that the bus stop depot in front of 475 Maple Street be moved 300 feet in either direction and not directly in front of Falsetti Towers. Smoke from smokers are affecting residents and are sitting on front steps, benches designated for residents.
Again, I spoke with the PVTA operation manager, Josh Hickman, and they just installed a new shelter in this area. It's difficult to move to another location because there's not, the sidewalk's not wide enough to accommodate the foundation of the shelter.
Perhaps
So-
in this case, the smokers will have to move.
That would be the easiest solution, I suppose. So they would like to keep this one because of the amount of ridership for this location. It's pretty heavy.
Through you, Chairman, and the committee, I actually would disagree with this ruling. The whole sidewalk is the same size where you go 300 feet to the left or the right, and the residents kind of felt like this was going to happen, so they actually got a petition, and it's been checked by the registrar's office of voters and non-voters. Today, the residents petitioned because they felt that this was going to be the ruling, but I myself have gone there, and it is ridiculous because of the high ridership, how many people are using the benches in front of Falsetti Towers as bus stop benches, or the smokes. I've been in the tenants' buildings when smokers for the bus stop. I don't know how we're going to regulate that and check in and go down, and there's not enough housing staff to say, hey, you need to move your smoking. So through you, Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to submit these signatures, and I would actually disagree with this ruling and actually heavily encourage you to please move the bus stop depot. And the sidewalk is the same size, whether you're 300 feet to the right or the left. The size of the sidewalk's the same. It's not like the sidewalk gets thinner or wider. And this is heavily from the residents. And you have about 59 signatures there, 39 are voters and 13 are residents of the building. It's a unanimous consensus of the residents in that neighborhood and in that building that we please move this.
What if we,
Hang on a second. Counselor Bartley?
Well, I'll hold off my question because I think Kevin's more on point than me.
Okay.
So,
Counselor Jordan?
yeah,
I'll
my
just go back in the
question
queue.
is, okay, so if we did 300 feet either way, we're either in front of Sacred Heart Church, AKA Our Lady of Guadalupe, or we're in front of the park, right? So it seems to me that we could do something with the park on the grassy part, that's fairly level flat. Say we did a carve-in of some form, or PVTA did that, and either didn't want to put it directly on the sidewalk, they could put the shelter on the low grass right there. I mean, we wouldn't care, the park-wise. And then it's only going to take up, 4 feet by 8 feet, and then they could just plop it right there, and then this way you have full access to the sidewalk.
That would be a solution, but it would be a concrete footing type of for the shelter.
So I think we should look at that direction and move it in front of the park. And then, because I don't think the church would want it. That one, they have a high wall there and a fence. I do tend to agree. If the way they had it, if you had the shelter right in front of the church, then I don't know how thrilled they'd be with people sitting all over the steps of the church either. So I think with the park, there are benches in the park too, and if people, that's really a passive park, people want to sit around and look at the squirrels while they're waiting for the bus, then, they're all set.
So just to go back to your early comment, what is the construction of the shelter? For the
This
bus?
is it's a new one they just put in this year, and it has to sit on something sturdy, so a concrete slab or so. It's something that if we want to move, we would have to, construct that for them. And it's,
Can we take that one and just put another concrete base and unscrew the one that's there and
that's what
make
they
a new
would,
base and put it on that?
we would have to provide the base for them. They'll do the moving, not
That's
a,
small, yeah, that's small money, though. A concrete base wouldn't cost that much.
it's, but if it's a park, then it's fine, but if it's private property, then you would need an easement of some sort. So, again, they prefer to leave it here, but if it has to move, then they're willing to entertain the request.
Counselor,
They need-
hang on one second, I have Counselor Bartley in the queue. He already took a step back.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I can wait. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to make sure that they understand that this is done by ordinance, and the city council has control of all the location of the PVTA. It's up to the city council.
Right.
If we want to listen to them, fine. If we don't want to, they don't listen to us anyway.
No, your points are
Thank
go, your points are going.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Bartley.
Just, I thought there was, a bus stop just north of Fall City Towers anyhow. At least I see the PVTA on a regular basis pulling over.
My apology, I didn't look far into that, but
Yeah,
again,
so I was just going to tell the Ward 2 counselor that I'm virtually certain that there's a bus stop right in between Our Lady of Guadalupe and Fall City Towers. And if I could get your support on that, I'd like to remove that bus stop completely, Nelson. And why do I say that? There isn't a curb cut there, and if there is, that is always lined with cars that are parked. And so the bus really parks, stops in the travel lane, just stops there. And so it really kind of impedes the traffic flow. So if you wouldn't mind, okay, so however we dispose of this, which I think we're going to dispose of the way you want, I want to make sure we also eliminate that bus stop right by, wherever it is by Our Lady of Guadalupe. Is that okay? Okay. So, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make a motion that this one be removed, the one referenced by Counselor Bartley be removed, and one be installed at the, oh heaven, I'm having a loss of the name of the park.
I'm usually good with that.
I can't believe I can't remember the name of that park. We used to call it Pickle Park when we were
Yeah.
kids, but I
Yeah,
don't know what
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the name of the park, but it's at the corner of Maple and
we'll find a
Jackson.
good spot for it.
At Maple and Jackson, yeah. So, and put it there on Maple Street facing.
And also that the PVTA pick up the cost.
I just want to, I want to second that, but I just want to do discussion.
Counselor Bartley?
Just through the chair. Nelson, have you had a chance to speak with the executive director of the Housing Authority?
Yes.
And what's the executive director's opinion?
So-
Or the board's opinion?
So when I spoke to the Housing Authority staff and Rita as well, Mancini, they agree with most of the residents. They're getting complaints from the residents, and their thing was around the policing of the smokers, or they don't have the staff, and then they're in support of moving it. And the proceeding order as well around the emergency vehicles and needing handicap spaces in the front of the building are, like you said, Counselor, I completely agree with your sentiments. The buses are stopping in the street in the travel lane to pick up passengers, and it's creating a health hazard and a danger issue, so they're in full support of this.
Great. All right.
Just as a point of order, I just have a question for legal. I just want to make sure we could remove a bus stop that we didn't have an order for.
Yeah, just amend it.
Amendment, is it?
Okay. So I think we need the amendment first, then we can, right?
The amendment is to also remove the bus stop immediately north of the one in front of 475 Maple Street.
Immediately north,
this
just
one-
so
it's
I
a
have it
2-for-1
Okay.
special.
2 for 1.
north of,
We like those.
all right. I just wanted to
And
make
install
sure.
it at the park.
Okay.
Which actually is a little more convenient for people going to the store, actually. Also,
So we do, it's called good government.
Okay, so before us, we have an amendment offered and seconded to remove 2 stops, add 1 at the park.
Yep.
It is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, let's just take up Nelson's last one. Okay, then.
Motion to remove 7 from the table?
Second?
All in favor?
All right.
So item 7, filed by Counselor Roman, that an emergency vehicles only sign be placed in front of 68 Cabot Street and 475 Maple Street.
Yem, did you
Yem,
have
do
an
you-
opinion on this, or?
No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but no.
There's no issue.
But I guess if we, the bus stops are generally at least 40 plus, if there's a curb, at least 40, those 60 feet. We probably could use any leftover space for, on-street parking.
Okay. So it's reasonable to add this signage once the bus stop is moved?
We'll just paint on the pavement, designate parking space on the pavement.
We'll have to give you an ordinance, though,
Well,
because it's parking regulation,
right.
on-street parking.
But we're also
They'll have to
wanting
give
to
ordinance.
stipulate emergency vehicles only, though.
Then what we have to do is, I'm assuming you want one, say, 20-foot space directly in front of the building that says emergency vehicles only, and then the rest will go to spaces for regular cars. Make a motion that occur at both
Second.
locations.
Second?
Drawn up in the legal form, please.
Any other comments?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye. Madam Chair, can we just go out of order for 1 minute? Take up number 15, please.
Second.
Sure thing. All in favor? Aye. So item 15 was filed by Counselor Bartley, that the city council seek input from the city engineer to consider removing 2 of the 4 no parking signs on Old East Hampton Road. Specifically, consider removing the no parking signs from pole numbers 45-1 and 45-2. Further order that a no parking anytime sign be posted on the west side of Old East Hampton Road, which would prevent motorists from parking in front of the homeowners on that street. Finally, order that the administrative assistant send written notice to the homeowners on Old East Hampton Road when a hearing date is scheduled with the ordinance committee. So here we have it.
Counselor Bartley.
Counselor Bartley?
Tee this up?
Oh, I'd be happy to. So we have in the audience today an esteemed member of one of the old Holyoke families, railroad man extraordinaire, Mr. Charlie O'Connell, and he brought this to my attention. By the way, this is co-filed by the Ward 7 counselor, so I just want to make that clear. This is Ward 7, so he was good to go with it. And so this is that little side road, Madam Chair, off of Route 1, well, I'm just addressing you, off of, so public knows, so off of 141 across from the Whiting Res, and on the other side of it, this little side street, is the M&M Trail, which is a very popular hiking trail. This is a really heavily used, heavily trafficked area for foot traffic, and Charlie brought to my attention that this is, very popular, and what's happened is that all the no parking signs have kind of impeded people from parking on what really is a side street, and cars are parking on the main highway, and it's probably a better situation. Now, what we wanted to be clear of is that we didn't want to upset any of the 3 homeowners, so the administrative assistant assured me today that yesterday, Monday, he hand-delivered notice of this order to all 3 residents, and I don't know if any of them are here tonight, but, okay, so one of the residents is here tonight, so maybe, at some point, maybe we have to suspend our rules and either allow Charlie or the resident to speak so we can sort of hear from them as to how they feel about it.
Sure. Is that a motion?
I'd make a motion to do that.
All in favor? Aye. So under suspension of rules, if folks would like to come to the microphone
So Charlie,
and give us your name and address and any comments you'd like to offer.
My name is Charlie O'Connell, 5 Center Street, Holyoke. I'm the owner of a lot of the property on the mountain, and I've allowed the passage of the M&M Trail through it. I put all of the property under permanent environmental easement to prevent any damage to it. The land in question here is owned by the state. The Commonwealth of Mass borders right on the road there. That's a wildlife management area. It is set aside by the people who pay for their hunting and fishing licenses. That's what that land is for. And access to it has been greatly restricted by putting no parking. People that go hunting generally abide by the law, so they're not going to park there. You get an older person like me that's edging toward retirement, I want to go up there now, I have to park somewhere a long ways away and then walk down with my musket to go hunting on the side of the road. And of course, it's legal, but it's not what I want to do, and I don't want to walk any further than I have to because I go in there, it's the easiest way up on the ridge. And as far as the Metacomet Trail, that is funded and paid for by the federal government. A lot of the land we also gave or sold to this federal government to own the property, to put it in perpetual easement and protection, to keep it wildland. It's a wonderful resource, both areas. We have the largest wildlife management in western Massachusetts. It's a gigantic area. It's about 4 miles long at one section and about 1.5 miles wide. It's a very large area, and the hiking trail goes from the Connecticut line to Mount Monadnock. And I worked very closely with John Over to secure that area, and the state and the federal government spent a lot of money surveying it, delineating it, putting the maps out and so on, and making it available to the local hikers. It's a major and important resource to the people of Holyoke. It doesn't cost them anything. It was donated by people in the federal government to make this resource available. And right now, the parking severely prohibits access to it. It never did, but now it does. It was an afterthought, but no one ever thought that that would be an issue there, but apparently it has become one. There's a couple signs that need to be removed, only in the entrance by the Metacomet Trail, on the Metacomet Trail side, and the wildlife management area, because I really question the legality of putting no parking signs restricting access to open state land that's supposed to be open to the public. So we need to fix that problem and make it right for the people of this city, not just an old man that has a dream for the people of Holyoke to have a nice wildland to go on. After my cousin blew up Mount Tom, I've been trying to get over this unforgivable thing that was done to the city.
Yeah, we're still waiting for the reclamation money on that.
Don't worry, I'm going to get it out of her.
Don't hold your breath.
Yeah, well, there's other avenues on that, but we've been done what we could to make this for the people, and that's what I did it for. I've been hunting and hiking up there for 50 years. I grew up on the mountain, so it's important to me to make it. I want to protect the neighbors, and if the neighbors have any issue, they can call me, and I will take care of it. We have money for that kind of thing.
Thank you, Charlie.
Tell Mary Rose we're still thinking about her.
Would anybody else like to be heard on this?
Hi, my name's Ray DeLude, and I live on 105 Old East Hampton Road. I've lived there for 26 years. The reason I had that street made no parking on one side was because it was a fire danger. Was then, is now. I've lived there for 26 years. You go up on that street this time of the year when people want to walk the reservoir or walk the trail, they park on both sides of that street and you can't get a fire truck up. You can't get a fire truck up. That goes on all winter. There are people that come from Long Meadow that have told me to F off when I asked them to park on one side of this street. Only one side is no parking, not two sides, one side. And I go so far in the winter as to go down with my bucket loader and clear the entrance out for people to park at. I am sick and tired of people worrying about the people walking around the reservoir. They don't worry about the crap they leave behind on my street, and have been doing it for 26 years. Their water bottles, their donut bags, their snacks, their drinking. Nobody cleans it up. Me. I do, with my wife and my kids. They were grown up, going down that street once a week, picking up stuff, tires, trash. He may have turned it over to the state. The state does nothing to maintain the trash that's dumped at that street under their sign. I've called them, no results. As far as hunters, there's not supposed to be any motorized traffic in the woods. There is all the time. There was a guy that was hunting. I says, you can't take a quad up there. He told me to F off. So much for hunters' goodwill. I'm 100% behind people's ability to go hunting. I was glad when they sold it and turned it over to that. I have nothing against people hunting. I am sick of this city, frankly, not taking care of their property. Both sides of that road, whether it be the water department or the state. I clean that street in the spring. You come up there any time in the spring and you'll see me going up and down that street with a blower, picking up trash beforehand, blowing the street clean. I push the snow back in the winter when it's barely possible to get one car up that street. Think of that street in the middle of the winter when snowbanks are pushing in and people want to park on both sides of the street. You'll never get a fire truck up.
Thank you, Ray. So, Yem, have you had a chance to look at the street?
I did. I just want to make one correction there. The pole location, it's not 45, it's 47.
47.
Yeah, 47-1, 47-2. And the width of the road, the paved portion of the road is 21 feet in width. It's narrow. So in order to accommodate parking on both sides, we would have to widen the road. And that's, again, if you approve for the both sides, parking on both sides of the street, then we'll have to come up with a way to widen the road.
But as it stands right now, it would not be safe to have parking on both sides of the street.
Right. As it is, that's what it should be.
Counselor Jordan?
Yeah, right now, just so I understand the layout, there's a parking allowed on one side, no parking on the other side.
There's no parking on I'll call it the west side.
Okay.
Which is
On the west side.
Right. No parking all the way from pole 1 to pole 8.
That's the side where the houses are.
Correct. And then right in front of the frontage of the two properties, there's no parking on the opposite side also.
Oh.
So there's parking only from the entrance to, where you see the pillars, on the eastern side of the road, back to the Route 41, 141.
Okay.
Almost a tenth of a mile of parking.
So my question is, would you object as the homeowner if we kept no parking on one side, but allowed parking on the other side?
It's what it is now.
I thought there's no parking for a
There is
portion
about
of it.
100 between my,
Hey,
Hold on,
hey,
Charlie.
whoa, hold on.
If I understand, if I was listening carefully, I just want to make sure I understand the city engineer. He's saying that there, for a portion of it, there's no parking on both sides.
Correct.
Okay, so let's discuss
So
that.
let's let the
Less than 100
engineer,
yards.
excuse me, sir, can I let the engineer answer the counselor's question? Thank you.
So why don't you go through that portion? So I got it, the side with the houses, no parking, and I'm
Correct.
perfectly fine with
You'll
that.
have an opportunity.
So
if
now
there's-
the question is the other side, just describe that again. A portion has parking and a portion does not have parking.
There's parking allowed on the eastern side, all the way up to the entrance. I'm gonna call it the original entrance, the reservoir.
Okay.
Okay. And then going toward East Hampton, there's no parking until you go beyond the last house, which is
just beyond my house.
correct.
Then you can park again.
Then you can park again.
How long is, if you had to just guesstimate, the portion that's no parking, like in feet? 100 feet, 50 feet,
You know what, I'm sorry, I didn't get that far.
100 yards?
That's
So approximately-
between
so
my
fo-
house and the neighbor's house,
That's 300 feet, a football field
just about,
of no parking,
of no parking,
both sides.
both sides.
And, okay, so I can visualize this now. Now, you're very concerned about allowing parking on both sides. We'll stop there because I'm in agreement with you. Talk to me about this football field now we're with you on the no parking on one side, at least I am. And then on the other side, it would seem to me, what's the problem with having parking on the other side, the east side?
For one thing, the road closes down, and if you're gonna park in front of our mailboxes, it's gonna cut it down that much more. The road isn't, they're breaking down the edge of the road as it is now, when they're parking on that side of the road. The reason for this now is the same as it was 20-something years ago. If you had the fire department come up there and put a car on both sides, they're not gonna get by.
But you're not gonna have a car on both sides because one
Right.
side's illegal.
Right.
But what if we allowed parking on the other side?
There is parking from the beginning up to the reservoir entrance. And to be perfectly honest, that's never full. That's never, from the beginning all the way up to the entrance, and I cleared the entrance out, it's never been that busy.
Okay. All right.
And you can go, it is laziness that people will park right at the entrance to the reservoir. They're gonna go for a 6-mile walk, but they won't walk another 100 yards.
That happens on Route 202 also.
It's
And, you know,
irony.
The neighbors and I had thought about petitioning the city to get it closed, because, getting a barricade at the end of it, because the trash that comes from East Hampton, the people coming down the street, open the trunk, throw it out, and go out the other end, it's mind-boggling what we have to pick up. Truckloads of it. And back in the day when we had the city yard that could afford to pick it all up, we'd go down on a Sunday and put it in front of our house, and they were nice enough to pick it up. Now it's not the case. And I've stopped loading my truck up and going down and using one of my dumps for stuff that's dumped on the street. And again, the state does nothing to maintain their section. I took 2 truckloads out of there last year. The reason that street looks good is because of me and my family. That's it. And I had all those signs were put up 26, 27 years ago. The joggers and the people who used that street decided they were going to park there and took them down. I went a long time not putting them back up until I was told to F off, that there were no parking signs. So, no parking signs. So I decided I'm going to go back, I'll have them put back up, and we're going to enforce it and get the people to park on one side of the street. One day I come home and the signs are all put up, and a cop's parked down the street, and 3 people are parked underneath the signs. I went down and asked the cop, listen, this is all no parking now. Can you ask them to move, give them a warning, have them park on the other side? That's all I'm asking. Park on one side. The cop told me, I'm not ticketing people that are walking around the reservoir. I goes, it's no parking. It's your job. He goes, I'm sorry, I'm not ticketing these people. I said, what do I have to do to get you to write a ticket? I don't know, but I'm not going to do it. Now, that's the stuff I'm up against on a daily basis up there. It's no man's land. Everybody wants to use it. Nobody wants to take care of it. I'm talking TVs, truckloads of roofing shingles, you name it. That street doesn't look that good because the fairy princess comes and takes it at night. And again, it isn't the hunters. That's not my argument. It's the people that are using it mostly for walking around the reservoir. I'm sorry to say, there's a lot of people that are slobs.
Well, I thank you for all the work that you have done to clean it up, and we definitely hear your frustration in this regard. Yes, you may. You can come up to the microphone, please.
Has their post show an arrow pointing to both sides of the street, no parking. And so no one's going to park there that has a license to have a firearm. They're not going to play the gate. They're going to play what they're supposed to do. They're not going to park there.
No parking between signs.
And if you look at the arrows, the arrows are pointing, the way the signs are, they're pointing this way, all the way down. That would indicate no parking on either side of the road. If there's parking on the other side of the road, I'm fine with it.
Yes, so
But
just to
I
be
don't
clear.
believe that's the case.
So just to be clear, if signs are on the road, and I'll defer to the engineer if I'm wrong, the signs are on the side of the road where the parking is prohibited. For example, on 202, where we added the no parking, the signs were placed on both sides of the road. Because it's illegal to park on a state highway anyway. But, because people were, but it's for the side of the road that the sign is on.
I would agree, like what he's talking about, I have
Right on
taken,
that,
I have
Mr.
taken several
Engineer.
truckloads of trash off the trail further up with a four-wheel drive truck. Had to go up and drag it out. I took a half of a roof off that trail one day. Someone drove up there with a truck and dumped it right in the middle of the wildlife management area.
Right.
It's not uncommon, but then if you live on Center Street, you're used to people dumping mattresses and all kinds of stuff around
It's a
City
problem
Hall.
citywide, I hear you.
We're not immune to it, no matter where you live.
True.
My point is, that is a wildlife management area. That's state property. I question the whole concept of putting no parking in front of it. I believe it's illegal, and it violates state law. Also, as far as the trail was put in there at great expense to the federal government. Probably don't know that, but we pay taxes. John Over was the lead person on that, and I worked very closely with him. So
Thank you.
that's an important trail, and it's been blocked by the city in several places with parking. The only access to it at this point is there. All of the south accents by the reservoir have been completely blocked, and there is no way to get onto them unless you hike all the way up from the turnpike. So there's simply no way to park and go on the trail for a short hike. You have to go all the way to that area. So this is a problem, and we need to think about these areas to keep them open so people can use them. There's a lot of people from the city that just hike it, and a lot of people come from all over the place to go up there. I was up there Thanksgiving Day, the day the signs were put up, and I didn't even know they were there. I parked where I usually parked, walked up, and a bunch of people were hiking along the trail. And as we were walking along the trail, I noticed people all over the place with my musket, and it was right around Thanksgiving, and they said they go up there every year. They're from Holyoke, they don't live here no more, but they've been doing that hike for 30 years. And they came out and they saw the no trespass, the no parking signs, and they got very upset by it. And the truth of the matter was, just because you live next to something, you have the right to complain about it, but you don't own it. And that's the problem. And you can't just tell someone how to use their property. That's the way it is.
Thank you. So there's a couple of things that I've heard here, and Councilor Lopez, do you want to be recognized?
I just want to. I think that we need to get the state rep involved and see if we can put no trash or whatever sign and a fine. But I mean, I want to see if we can enforce it. I mean, not to put the sign, but have an enforcement
That's local.
on both sides and see. I mean, just put the number. How much is the fine? I think that will catch the eye of the people walking. And if you put $200, $500, I don't know how much that is. I think that will be something to start. I guess. I don't know.
Thank you. So I guess I am hearing that there was a misunderstanding relative to the parking, that the parking is restricted on one side of the road, not both, is one clarification. And,
It's
Yam,
one
did you want to
side
add
on-
something?
It's on the west side, it's no parking, and on the east side, it's no parking in front of the two properties
Okay.
for, I believe, a distance of about 200 feet.
So mostly, it's no parking on one side,
Yes.
mostly.
If what they're saying about the signs is true, that's correct.
Okay.
You know, the way they look, that doesn't look that way.
Okay, I hear you, but that's a clarification that needs to be made, because that is the situation.
Yes.
Counselor Bartley.
Okay, all right, so I'll just say a few things. First of all, Madam Chair, what does that read?
45-1.
Yeah, well, okay, so I clarified that for the city engineer. Now, it's amazing I have to take photos, and I can't believe I actually found it. Now, he claims that the number was changed, but I just want to, it was 45-1, well, when I took the photo 4 months ago, okay?
Okay.
So,
It must have been,
Mr. Engineer, it just, okay, I just want that, all right, when I get a little jabber like that, I'm glad I had the evidence right here, so
But
it's
we're all
right there.
talking about the same
I'm
location.
going to move on to another point, and so let me just take it one at a
Okay.
time, okay? So there's that. Point number two, when I filed the order, you know, there's no, I'm just saying to the public, so I'll just speak right to the chair, there's no obligation for a public hearing, Madam Chair. We suspended, so I filed the
True.
order to make sure the public was given notices, Madam Chair. Okay, I'm sensing a tremendous amount of tension coming back at me, but we went above and beyond, Madam Chair, for the public, and we
This is
and we
correct.
suspended the rules. So that's
This
point
is
number
correct.
two. So I want the public to be well aware of that before they start coming down here and getting all aggravated, okay? Because I felt the tension. I don't appreciate it, but, so we went above and beyond. So I want to say that, Madam Chair, as well. That's point number two. Point number three, you're talking about a family that's donated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres of land. They're asking for about the smallest little favor in the world. Point number four, there's no parking across from the gentleman's house. There's no parking on his side of the house. We're simply asking, or the petitioners are simply asking, for parking, I guess you'd technically say south of that, on both sides of the way. Point number five, I've been up there numerous times. I've never once seen the gentleman in my life. Point number six, if he thinks that's the only place where there's trash in the city and other people have to pick it up, dream on, because that's not the case. I'm glad you're a hero about that. I'm glad you pat yourself on the back a lot, but we all do it. But we don't come down to City Hall bragging about it. I'm glad you help out. That's great. So, whether this is going to go anywhere, I don't know, but those are just a few small points that if I feel as though I need to make clear. Thank you.
Okay, so what I would like to do, we're not having a debate. We are not having a debate,
I
please.
can't let that, I don't know him from Adam.
Okay.
And none of my conversation was pointed toward him.
He's,
Mine was pointed toward this
yes.
article that was sent to me. I didn't know he filed it, if indeed he did. My
Right.
point was just
Yes,
what
and,
I stated.
and we take your point. We take your point. I want to just clarify what I see as the issue. I believe there was a misunderstanding about the no parking in that it was on both sides of the street. We have clarified that the no parking is on one side of the street, largely where the houses exist. So it seems that the discussion we're having, if we were to add any parking, would simply be in a fairly small area that is on the side where it's now prohibited. Other than that, I don't see that we're really talking about changing anything.
And it's actually a limited area, Madam Chair. It's not even that whole side, so we're still talking, there's a large swath that there's still no parking. But
Right.
There's only asking for a couple hundred yards on the west side.
So if I may, to our engineer,
Holes on the west or east.
if we make the change between the two poles that is sought in this order, does it keep all of the no parking on one side of the road?
Those two poles, are they on the west or the east?
West.
Well, I guess south. Oh, on the west side of the road.
Side where
but
the houses are.
South of the entrance, I'm sorry, go ahead.
What I'm just trying to understand is, if we were to make this change between these two poles,
Correct.
would there still be no parking on one side of the street?
Because that's gonna change that. You're gonna allow parking on both sides. Yeah.
Let me just show it on the map.
Yes, if we could.
No, near the houses.
Yeah, but they're advising against the narrow nature of the street.
This is to East Hampton.
Well, we have an order
Okay, so
to
no
talk about the
parking on
parking
this
rules,
side.
don't we? You and I co-filed it.
Right.
And
Is
no
what
parking
exists
on this
now.
side. That's an exist, these,
Okay,
parking here on this side, no parking the entire on this.
okay.
And, Council Bartley wants to eliminate.
The beginning.
So.
Oh, so there'd be parking on both sides at the lower end of the road?
Correct. And I'm saying, if you can line the road, it doesn't have to be paved, it could be.
Okay,
Is
so,
that easy enough to do?
so,
If we were to do this during paving season, we have plenty left over from, the reclaim operation, but we're done with paving at this point. But yes, it would require a little bit of excavation and placement of the material and compacting. So.
would that be something that could be done without an appropriation within the budget of DPW? Or would the maker have to come back with an order to get the money to accomplish that?
We can look at among other, the need. I think we can get it done.
Is that area on the two sides, so basically what you're saying is the sort of, they'll be off the road, and on the two sides, is that flat enough? There's no drop off there?
It's flat. It's fairly flat. I mean, the
Just
state
grass right now?
right now it's overgrown. It's vegetated from just years of
But you think
neglect.
you could open that up and put trap rock or something down?
There's no wetland issue in that, on one side of the road, so we can certainly could do that.
You have to do Bender's Hill first.
I'm sorry.
I had to throw that in there.
Excuse me, but going up that road after that entrance, it's an embankment going up. So it's not flat. So you'd have to do some excavation going out to the right. And again, park a car on both sides and then call a fire truck and see if you can get between them.
Okay,
Take into
so,
consideration the winter snow, that they only push back so far because there is only houses on one side of the street. And then park a car on both sides and see if you can get a fire truck up.
right, so to be clear, what we're entertaining and what we're hearing from the our engineer on is what changes would have to be made so that that would not be the case if the parking was allowed. As it stands right now, we're hearing from our engineer that it is not safe to allow parking on both sides of the road. Only if the road was widened by 10 feet would it be safe. And so what we're discussing now is whether that would be doable from an economic point of view, because the committee can't take an action to say do something when we know there's no ability to do it. So what we're trying to hear from our engineer is if it is the will of the committee to recommend it to the city council, which will then make its own vote, if it's even possible within the budget and the timing of things to do. So that's what we're trying to figure out now. So if you would please indulge us, we opened up for comments, and you've had an opportunity to be heard
And
3
I'm-
times, and I think we understand your points.
If I could just say this, instead of spending the money to make that wider, nobody parks where they can legally park.
Okay,
There
point
was plenty
taken.
of parking there.
Point taken. So, given that, I think one big point tonight is that half the street is available for parking that people didn't understand is available, to me, is a big point. I mean, I think if people understand parking is allowed, unless it's marked no parking, we can see how that works. But,
The other point I wanted to make, Madam Chair, is
Counselor Jordan?
my understanding is people walk this reservoir even in the winter months. Is that correct? I mean, I'm not a frequent walker up there myself, but is that fair to say? Okay. So my concern about doing the parking allowed both sides, even with the gravel situation, is I have a hard time believing the DPW trucks are going to plow the gravelled area. Therefore, my point is, I think what's most likely to happen in the winter months, this would seem to be a plausible solution in the summer months, but in the winter months, when this is snow covered, people, however, they're going to park where it's plowed, right? So they're not going to put their cars in that gravelled area. And if they see parking allowed, some people you're going to be down to this narrow passageway again if they park on both sides in the winter months. That seems to be a valid point.
You can certainly say about any streets in the city where
Right.
if you have snowstorms,
Yeah. I mean, we're contemplating, as the counselor alluded to earlier, we're talking about banning outright in some of these streets, like Brookline Avenue and some of these other ones, on-street parking during these snowstorms or certain weather conditions, because they're so narrow, even with one row of cars on there, that you can't do it. And certainly not with 2. So I don't know if we want to necessarily create another situation, albeit, I suppose theoretically a fire truck could come around the other way, as opposed to going up that way, to get to the houses, because that does seem like that would be a safe passage the other way. But nevertheless, it seems to be a valid point.
I can tell you, it's not going to be on the list to be wide, first. It's, priority, we make all roads passable
Yeah,
for
right.
emergency vehicles,
Right.
yes.
But
But not for parking, on-street parking.
Right. That makes sense.
Okay.
All set?
Counselor Bartley?
So an order I filed with the UCO file was to limit in winter months, parking on certain sides of the street, or on the street at all for narrow streets. But for this little area, I mean, you can make parking on that west side, we're talking about 300 yards of roadway. That's all we're talking about. Of shoulder, I would say. But you could allow parking there from, March to November. And disallow it for the winter months.
Yeah.
We do that all the time.
That seems reasonable. If you can do the gravel, and that seems to eliminate the summer month problem. And if we ban it in the winter, that's the winter month problem.
There you go.
It would,
Compromise, that seems
Right.
to, that's what we do here.
That's what we do.
it would still have to be widened in order to do that
Right, yeah.
first.
Well, we would make it effective, you should keep it no parking until you're able to do that work.
I would recommend that, correct?
Yes,
We agree with you.
yes. So what is the pleasure of the committee?
I'd make the motion then that keep it as is until the engineer certifies the width of the road. And then pending that, we can,
Take it up again and do it.
we can prepare an ordinance that says parking allowed March to November, or no parking there from December 1st to whatever.
So do you
February
wish
28th.
do you wish to keep it tabled until we hear back from the engineer?
I think so, because we're actually coming into the winter months now, so I think this is kind of on point. And then the hope is that at some point, YEM will have a better plan at the end of winter, and so we can prepare for the springtime.
Yes, Yam, you wanted to add something?
I forgot. No. Sorry.
Okay, so then, at the moment,
We can do.
the motion is to table until... All in favor? Aye.
I make a motion to suspend the rules to take up item 12.
Second.
Thank you all. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 12, filed by Counselor Roman, that the city place a loading zone sign in front of 845 Main Street for business owner Diomedes Chavez, who is having difficulty locating parking for a delivery truck. Counselor Roman?
Yes, Madam Chairman, this order is actually for Springdale Grocery Store. They're right across the street from Springdale Park, and this was at the request of the owner directly, who reached out to me, and it's true, I've been in that area, there's, a lot of residents and individuals going to the park, they park right in front, he has nowhere for any of his loading trucks to load in and out any materials or any of the supplies that he needs.
So, Yem, did you have an opportunity to check that out?
So if you make the existing, the 2 spaces now, then you would eliminate the availability for people to park there. I think we possibly move, how about loading on the opposite side of the street? On the Springdale side, is that it? And then move the PVTA bus stop by another 40 feet back.
Oh. Does that sound workable?
It's right at the crosswalk, so we can, the loading and that's.
I think that's totally doable, that's agreeable, thank you.
Yep.
So let me make sure I'm understanding this. So you're recommending that
Across the street.
the loading zone would be across the street and that the...
Move the bus stop, I haven't done
North.
the.
Bus stop move 40 feet north?
Towards the downtown.
I think
South?
maybe south.
You want to go south?
There's a signal there, there's a traffic signal.
Oh, okay.
We gotta go away.
All right, then.
Away from the signal?
Yep, so move the bus stop south.
All right.
Okay, I make a motion that that be adopted as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
All right.
so now we can go back to, we have planning recommendation in front of us. So I would entertain a motion to come out of recess from the public hearing? Can I have a motion?
A motion to take item 2 and 3
Out of recess.
out of recess.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
So 3 and 4.
Yes, this is items 3 and 4, and the public hearing is now resumed. So, in the interim, we received a recommendation that I'll read into the record from the planning board, and this recommendation was made tonight, September 27th. Please be advised that at its September 27th, 2016 meeting, the Holyoke Planning Board discussed the above-referenced zone change request. After consideration of all information and testimony presented during the public hearing, the board voted unanimously to recommend to the Ordinance Committee of the City Council that the zoning text change request as amended herein be approved. Accordingly, the board recommends that Section 4.3, subsections 22 and 24 be revised to include the following language at the conclusion of each use: for every 5 acres of land area in the subject parcel. In addition, the board recommends that Section 4.3, subsection 42A be revised to read as follows: medical clinic building not exceeding 2,500 square feet for every 5 acres of land area in the subject parcel. In suggesting these changes to Section 4.3, we have been guided by our understanding that the City Council's intent is to protect the character and livability of the city's residential zones, while removing any undue burden on properties currently zoned RO. This requested text change meets that requirement by allowing for new and innovative business opportunities to occur within this particular zoning district. If you have any questions regarding this decision, please feel free to contact me, signed by Mimi Panich, Chair of the Planning Board. Hang on a minute.
That's a copy of the same.
I just wanted to see if they, we have both orders open, and they have addressed both. So that was on the one order relative to the text change.
Yep.
So I'm now reading into the record the other recommendation regarding the zone change, RA residential agriculture to RO residential office. Dear Counselor Vacan, please be advised that at its September 27th, 2016 meeting, the Holyoke Planning Board discussed the above referenced zone change request. After consideration of all information and testimony presented during the public hearing, September 13th, 2016, September 20th, 2016, and September 27th, the board voted 4-0 to recommend that the Ordinance Committee of the City Council approve the zone change as proposed, RA to RO. The board found that the residential office zoning designation for that parcel of land would allow for the highest and best use of the property, and that such zone would be a transitional area between the commercial retail corridor to the west and the residential neighborhood to the east, and that the RO designation is consistent with both the historical and the current use of the property. If you have any further questions. Again, signed by Mimi Panich, Chair. Councilor Jordan.
Just wanted to tell the chair I'll be abstaining from any votes or discussion on these two items.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you, Counselor. I'm glad you came back.
Boy, I would hope you're glad I'm back.
Yeah, you have no quorum.
That's why I said that. Okay, so on the matter before us, we had our hearing open. We've now come out of recess. One of the questions remaining at our last public hearing was questions about what the planning board would think about the RO zone in between the two. And so now we have our answer in that regard. Are there any other questions?
No, I think we can make
Or
a motion to
concerns?
approve as recommended.
I see none other in the chamber. Okay. We have a motion before us to approve as recommended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3-0, abstention. Oh, thank you.
Strike that. Motion reconsider.
I need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, with one abstention. Sorry, but thank you, Kara.
Did you vote on both of them?
Thank you. We took them up as a package, right?
Did?
Yes, the public hearing was opened for both. So we are really done. Thank you.
See ya. Yeah, next week.
Thank you. Okay.
So it takes care of 3 and 4, right?
Yes, sorry about that, but
Motion to take
now we can go back to regular order.
number 8.
We had recessed because we didn't have.
Number 8, Madam Chair.
Number 8 off the table?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So on item 8, I filed this, that the city engineer evaluate and recommend stop sign placements at Lower Westfield Road near the Elks where Whitney Ave crosses to the Elks, and that lines are painted in the roads that meet Lower Westfield Road to indicate that they are two-way streets. Consider moving the stop sign partway through the rotary-like area to Lower Westfield Road so that all traffic entering Lower Westfield Road from the side streets must stop prior to entering the roadway. Constituents are requesting safety improvements due to increased traffic in the area. And we all know this area's been a tough area for a long time. And so we just wanted to get your feedback and see what we could do just to clean it up there.
So I dug up some old files, and this is what we have, and I'm not sure if you have seen that this is the conceptual plan that was done about 12 years ago.
I don't think so. Oh, so it was going to be a real rotary.
Not a rotary, that's more high speed, but more like sort of like a roundabout.
A roundabout,
To
yeah.
really traffic calming. Because, you know,
Take a break, take a break.
so,
Do you need to refer this yet? Or do you want me to show it?
sure, please, yes,
Are you good to go with it right now?
yes, yeah.
He's got that all memorized. Photographic memory.
Yes.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Does that make you the jester?
Very much.
Then we can rename it.
Linda Bacon roundabouts. Someday. Stay tuned.
Well, you
Go ahead,
know,
Jim.
that has,
We'll
you know, curb,
Whoever said Linda's one way?
hardscape and,
Counselor, you can't say that anymore.
You could have a big statue with a fountain right in the middle, too.
yeah.
It's over my head.
Like Venus.
I'm missing the
Kinda like the
private
statue
joke,
of Venus,
but
right.
I may catch up someday. So anyway, on this, there has been discussion of this with the neighbors up there,
Yeah.
but then somebody'd have to give up part of their yard and,
I mean, that's the Cadillac version of the plan. Like, you know, if you look at the existing paved area and the radius, we probably can make it work a lot cheaper than that. You know, you really need to accommodate a bus. That's probably the longest vehicle. You know,
Bus? They have buses that go there?
I guess for
Interesting.
school kids.
Oh, school buses, right. Okay, that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yes.
But
Like a PBTA.
nowadays, most kids are driven to schools. But you know, I can see an option B where it would be a lot cheaper than that by just using what you have there without having to. We just need a radius that would accommodate the bus. And try to work with what we have. I think the best thing to do is really looking at something like that rather than, you know, looking at a series of stop and stop and stop, because you're really looking at Lower Westfield Road and then you're looking at Whitney Road and you have Sixth Street coming onto one point. So
right.
And again, it's real low traffic volume area. You know, I checked the accident report there. It hasn't been any, but again, right, who has the right of way once you get into that mess? So this is probably the cleanest, you know, setup you can come up with.
Is this doable without taking land from people that
I
are?
would like to look at it again, and I think we can come up with a plan that will not impact the butters as much as
That would be
that one.
great.
So,
Is, I think their biggest issue is the people zipping up to the Elks.
right. That-
And do they zip? And they zip up not just Lower Westfield, they zip up Whitney,
Yeah,
and they go
yeah.
flying through there.
And I would present that as a residential meeting.
Well, it's the drive, and
per
it's
se.
not just the Elks, it's the reservoir too.
Yeah.
Maybe the residents up there, they wouldn't do that. That would never happen,
The
right?
ones on Mountain Road never speed
No,
either.
we don't see it.
But I mean, there are things that are drawing more people up there,
Couldn't even imagine.
especially as the people are getting pushed off of 202 for the reservoir. I think they're going up there perhaps more too. Well, if this is doable, so would there need to be an appropriation to accomplish something like this? Would,
I would like to look into the cost a little more and then
Okay.
talking to the people and just get some more feedback.
all right, so then I think it would be in order to table it until you can
Yes.
get more information. And what do you think we should table it for a couple months?
Yes, I would say that's reasonable enough, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, probably under discussion.
Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, so I think that the order I filed, I think 15, if you would, just so when you're tracking these
Yep.
down the road, I think 15 should probably come up in a couple months as well, probably at the same time. So why don't we just sort of keep them as a,
Yeah, does that sound reasonable
deal.
on the old East Mountain?
If I
Old
come,
East Hampton
every
Road?
2 months would be a nice
Okay.
schedule for me.
All right, so that'll put us to end of November.
yeah, or January, or December, Madam Chair, whatever it is. So there's no rush on.
Well, usually, just to try to keep things easy and so that Yem can plan,
Great.
I try to ask him to come in the last meeting of the month. So that way, when we're sending him orders over, he has a chance to check stuff out.
Great.
And then everybody can plan a little better, so, all right?
Motion
So,
to table.
Motion to be tabled.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to take item number 9 off the table.
Second.
Item 9, I filed to add solar-powered lights or signage or other improvements to make crosswalks at Kane Road, Sterling Road, and Pinchin Road more visible to drivers to increase safety for pedestrians. I've been getting repeated calls from people in the neighborhood for that, and also for the painting, because it doesn't look like the painters got out there yet. It looks like they painted up near 202, but not further down Homestead, and it's probably still on the list of things to do, I'm guessing. But it seems that, well, they have the solar-powered, they're not that expensive, not compared to some of the other ones, because they just go around the sign to make it show more, is really all they do. That's what they use from Southampton at the stop signs on Southampton Road. But anyway,
Amend this to add all of Ward 6 stop signs.
well, I'm catching up to Wards 4 and.
Actually, you should see the one on South Street, the one they
But
get them installed on
I'm-
South Street.
But I
It's
mean,
great.
I think it would be great if we could do them on all, but on some of the roads, and Homestead Avenue is getting crazy. People are driving down there 40 miles an hour, they're coming over 202, cutting down to get to 91 in the Pike, and there's a school there, and they're not even seeing the people. And it really,
Let's take up your neighbor's advice there and get exit 3A off the turnpike.
I like that.
I like it too.
I like that idea.
I like it
I think
too.
it's an excellent idea. But in any event, that's the origination of the order.
So I was out there a couple of days, and I noticed that at Pinchin, the 20-mile school flasher, that's not working, so we'll have to get that back up. You know, it looks like it's been, left undone for a while, so that's going to cost a little bit of money. Again, there's an option to go with the solar power, instead of the power off the grid. We'll see which one is cheaper to replace that. The other one down toward Kane, I believe, that's newer, so that's fine. You got one on either side of the approach. That's one, and
So you think the signage is okay?
we can do some tree clearing branches.
Okay.
At the, I believe, what street is it now? This is by Homestead near house number 737, so. And then once we go beyond the school zone, by, what street is that now? By the entrance to the
Sterling?
park.
Was it
The entrance of
Sterling?
the reservoir. Yes, Sterling. I'm not sure what, at this point, maybe I can look at the in-pavement type of where you mill and then you install reflectors, so that, in an early morning, as you're getting later and later before sunrise, it'll be more reflective and.
And, I mean, whatever is efficient or less costly certainly is good. It's just to increase the visibility and the awareness, because it's just
Okay.
a little raceway, because it's nice and straight,
Yes. So, yeah, those are the three things I've seen, and certainly we can, replacing the existing flasher, that's going to cost a little money. So.
But that's a regulation, right, in a school district to have that flashing thing?
Yep, and again, it's probably, we'll get something that has a timer that would flash morning, afternoon, and, not, say, in the summertime.
Right.
Okay.
So if the committee accepts your recommendations, will you be able to just go ahead and do them, or will there need to be another step?
I'm not looking at replacing, installing any additional signs, so, I think that's it.
Okay.
All right, motion, the order's been complied with.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion taken, number 10.
Second?
Hang on, I just need to do my notes. Six. Sure.
With flashers? They do them. DPW, yeah, he says he's gonna fix the one on Pension Road.
Fix Pinchin, trim the bushes around the other ones, and come and look at the change in the,
Sterling, I want to see if we can come up with a cheap, way to, to make the crosswalk.
change the
go.
crosswalk.
Yeah. Well, if you
Okay.
want to put on in pavement reflectors.
Okay, reflectors. All right. Thank you. So we have a motion to take up 10?
Yep.
All in favor? Filed by Counselor Leahy that Chapter 86 of the Code of Ordinances be amended as necessary in order to prohibit the operation of commercial vehicles on Dartmouth Street. Maker of the order isn't here, but maybe, Yem, you can speak to that. Do we have an ordinance on that?
No, there's not an existing one for Dartmouth. So that there is a lengthy process to get it done, and it would involve the doing a speed study and generate a report from the city to Mass Highway to get their approval, and you can either go for a 24-hour restriction or just say 11 to 7 o'clock type of restriction. The key here is to come up with an alternative route that everyone would agree on. So that would involve, obviously, public notice and public meeting, and that's.
Well, in that regard, as the maker of the order is not present, I'll accept a motion to table.
Second.
Just before you just
Oh,
do it,
before we have the motion,
I just want.
Counselor Bartley.
So just so the committee knows, so Dartmouth runs east-west, whatever, west-east.
Yeah.
There are already speed humps
Correct.
Yes.
on that stretch of road.
Two
Counselor
speed
Lopez,
humps,
you're
yeah.
familiar with it. Seeking an alternate route from Dartmouth Street I don't think that's a high hurdle. Yeah, Lincoln, yeah, it's clearly Lincoln, but I mean, I just want through the chair if we table this, do you in fact start the process, Yem?
I would. It's a lengthy process. I mean,
Okay,
until I get a note from you guys to start doing something, I would.
Okay, so, and just if I may, Madam Chair, so do we need to hear from the council who filed the order? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I would like to
Okay.
understand, what
Okay.
the context is and
No, okay, I wasn't clear. I'm simply
what
asking the
the
question.
positives to be gained from doing it would be. I don't understand.
Well, I'm sure there's gotta be either some tractor trailer truck or somebody's going down the street and people are salty about it. It's gotta be what it is. But if we're gonna do that and we don't have an actual ordinance, so we're not really, the order is to amend chapter 86, which if we don't already have something on this already, we've never done this. And I think we've put up signs that say no commercial vehicles, but I don't think we've actually enforced it by way of an ordinance. So the second question is, if we're gonna go through all of the regimentation of public hearings and this and that, I think at that point, we gotta seriously think about a list of streets and do it in one swoop where we would get an economy of scale here, if you will, where we'd say, okay, we're gonna do Dartmouth, we're gonna do West Franklin, we're gonna do Hitchcock, we're gonna put a list of the frequent flyers on commercial vehicle complaints and say, we're gonna invite everybody, have one, and then we have one meeting on 5 or 6 streets, as opposed to address Dartmouth, and then let's have another public hearing for, these other streets. Right. Sounds like a pretty weighty process.
Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, I just want to concur with everything that the counselor said. I just want to add also that if you recall our last full city council hearing, I had an order relative to having HPD enforce Chapter 86, section whatever it was, pertaining to Hitchcock Street. Do you remember I filed that order? And then, remember that night, I said, give a leave to withdraw, but I want to make a comment. And the comment was I was basically what I said was, the neighbors advised me that trucks were rambling down that road, that it was illegal. The neighbors filed the trucks, and fortunately Marcos and Johnny Dijek circled back to the folks at Parsons Paper and said, you're breaking the law, find another route. And that's how it was. Now, we in fact went to HPD to advise them, and they did their best, but I mean, the HPD was out there on a Saturday. And we appreciate everything they do, but Saturday's not really the main event.
You gotta be a little more tactical.
Yeah, so, and then I got some feedback. Well, can't you get a sign on the street? And then my reply was, well, there is a sign at Northampton Street and Hitchcock. Well, there isn't a sign at Westfield Road and Hitchcock. So can you get a sign? So it was. You see what I mean? It was just going down a slippery slope on something that fortunately we have some great cooperation from Marcos and Johnny, and then ultimately with the vendors, and problem solved.
Some of these streets, we're gonna have to come up with decorative totem poles.
Well, Kevin,
because we have so many signs.
Nobody reads any of them.
That you're gonna need, no engine brakes.
And to the committee.
No commercial vehicles,
And how many towers have I filed to remove signs that are just littered all throughout Ward 3 and other places? Numerous. I mean,
that song, sign, everywhere a sign?
Yeah, usually Councilor McGivern likes to sing that when we file an order to remove a sign.
Back in the 70s, they were singing it.
And I'll tell you, he's got a great voice. I try to encourage him. I encourage him to really get out there and belt it out. He's one of my favorites. But the overabundance of signage, Mr. President and Madam Chair and at-large Councilor Lopez, it just, all of a sudden it just becomes a blur.
So motion
On the
is
motion to table?
10.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so I'm in favor.
Motion to take 11 off the
Second.
table.
All in favor?
Yes, for Old Ferry Road.
Item
That's
11, filed by
Showtime.
Counselor McGee,
Showtime.
that the engineer review the speed limit on Old Ferry Road and that DPW post speed limit signs on the street. So, Yum, if you could let us know what you found?
Second request, Yum.
If you can pass, here's the little speed check on
I
that
don't think it was
street.
directed at Yum.
I'm just noting it.
So the road is, it's a 30-mile-an-hour road, prima facie speed limit. So based on what I've done here, again, we may have missed party season, I guess, so.
Party season.
Oh,
the beer fest. Yeah, Madam Chair, can I make a motion to suspend the rules and allow the citizens to speak? Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Where's the microphone for
Yeah,
the...
And please give us your name and address.
We're here alone, so we'll talk.
Name and address.
Carl Longley, 16 Old Ferry Road. Hi, Yem.
how are you?
I know you from South Hadley.
I know, yeah.
Here we
Your
go.
reputation precedes
Old
you.
home week in Holyoke. This is great.
You got all the credit for building
Oh,
the
I lived
clubhouse.
there. He was
I was-
engineer in Hadley at the
It was
time.
just,
Really nice.
we
All right, so
built,
fire away.
built the clubhouse
sir.
together.
So
My
let us
main
have it.
concern is the traffic in and out of the Holyoke Canoe Club,
Got it.
okay? The traffic now is pretty much over with at its certain times. I have been trying to be a good neighbor to the club and try to work it through them. The fella that was my councilman before Todd McGee chose to do nothing when I called him. When I finally got a hold of Mr. McGee, he got me to this point, so here I am. People are in and out of that street 40, 45 miles an hour, and I am not exaggerating.
So that's illegal
This
'cause
fellow
it's
was talking
so-
about having traffic parked on both sides of the street. If you park on both sides of my street, you're not walking down the middle of the street. You know what I'm saying? It's that
Right.
tight. That's an every weekend deal with the Summit View. I haven't even made any complaints about that yet. I've called the police department twice who chose to do nothing about it. I got a lot of gripes. But the speeding is the biggest thing. There's 7 houses on that street. We all have kids or grandchildren. When they come out of the club, they think their driveway is the street. I've almost been hit twice. I see the mail lady almost take it yesterday. It was real close. The other neighbors that live around the corner there, same deal. They've all had altercations with people coming out of the club. They're on their phones. They don't slow down, and they are hauling butt out of the street. Some of them are there at night drinking, burning rubber, leaving the street. I'm going to be happy if somebody can put up a speed limit sign and enforce it once or twice, and it's going to calm a lot of them people down. You got to do something because somebody's going to get killed there. My neighbor, his grandsons are up there all summer, and one of them almost got hit about a month ago. He on a bicycle, 9 years old.
It's
out in the
very
street.
narrow
Close.
down there.
People just going way too fast.
So, sir, we got people going way too fast up there, as you stated. It currently has a speed limit of 30.
Doesn't have any speed limit
Yes,
posted.
so we got a thing of 30. Now,
But that's the law, right?
that's the law.
Common law, or whatever you want to call it.
No, we are, yeah,
If
right.
it's not
right.
posted,
That's
it's
nothing
30.
that you set.
No, that's what we said.
That's a standard. If it's not posted on
It's
the street,
30.
that's a
That's
standard.
correct, that's
Right.
correct. Right, if
Right.
we don't do something to the contrary, it's 30.
Right.
In the thickly settled. So, the point is, do you have an objection to keeping it 30? Or is more your objection saying 30 would be fine as long as people actually went 30?
No, I'd
Problem
be-
is, people are going way too fast for
I
30.
drive down it at 20 and it's fast. You have to go out
narrow.
there and go on that street and have somebody trying to go out, and you
Yep.
try to go in and both you're going 30 miles an hour, you ain't gonna do it.
Okay, so you think it should be 20?
So how about if
I would be
we,
happy with 20. I think it should be 15.
how about if we let our engineer weigh in?
Well,
Yem or somebody's been out there.
Right, and he's taken a look and he's going to give us his feedback,
All right, I'll be quiet.
if we let him.
So unfortunately, I have this up this week, this last week, and again, I see 31 miles an hour. That was the highest speed here. The 85th percentile is 22 mile an hour. 95th percentile is 27 mile an hour. They're within the regulated speed, which is 30.
I can't hear anything you're saying. Yeah, I'm
The-
hard of hearing in my ears. I can't help it.
Sorry, Carl. It's 30 mile. They're within the 30 mile an hour speed limit.
So, Yem, if I can,
Well, no, I'm just looking at, from what I had, the rate,
What is that thing you have hanging on the telephone pole?
we detect,
There's a mechanical box that somebody from engineering
it's
put up
the
there.
traffic counters. Right?
But
Monitors,
just counting the vehicles?
counting speed, counting vehicles, number, volume, speed, and, gaps. And all
Yeah,
that.
see, you're a month late with that thing. There's a crew that comes in there every morning. They're tennis players. I can give you their plate numbers. I know who they are. I've had them flip me off. Same thing, F you. Doesn't do any good. They could drive in. The club themselves
Yeah.
have an entrance and an exit. And these people drive in the exit, hauling ass because they're in a big rush to go play tennis. This is every morning. You have a cruiser there at 8 o'clock. I'll guarantee you by 9 o'clock that cruiser will have his ticket booth thing filled. If the speed limit's 30, I'll guarantee you he'll get 10 people coming here doing 40.
so Yem, relative to the size and the width of the street there,
It's a small street.
is there any indication, regardless of whether the people were under 30 in that moment or not, is there any other indication that there would be consideration for a lower speed limit?
There's the railroad crossings. You have so many. you're crossing the railroad before you get to Route 5 on Old Ferry Road, so obviously that's, it's gonna be a speed deterrent there, but, beyond that, to have a black and white regulatory speed limit, it has to be done, through the speed, the speed zoning process. So,
Oh, such as what you just did.
correct, yeah.
That would be the only way to
That-
change it from 30?
Correct, and based on what I see here, I see 25 mile an hour posted, post speed limit. So.
How did you get Bemis Street posted 15 miles an hour?
So, but are you saying we could post it 25, or we have to leave it 30?
If we complete the speed study and, it goes through, here's the procedures. It has to be done, but, and the state will have to get involved.
Oh, okay.
I can see a speed limit of 25 mile an hour based on what I've done in 1 week of, not 1 week, I'm sorry, 2 days, 3 days of speed check.
Now, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but we did accomplish this and put a 25 mile an hour speed limit sign going up to the Elks. And the residents in the area say it has done absolutely nothing.
Whatever you put up.
15, I believe, I think it was 15 miles.
I'm sorry?
15 mile an hour, right?
15.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But it's still, enforcement is still.
That's the issue. Or the key, I should say, maybe.
The thing is, I'd like to get it posted, and then I'll do what I have to do to get it to be posted even lower. There are other avenues.
So right now, your request would be to post it at the 30?
I want the town to help me maybe stop the
this-
kid from getting hit, period.
I know.
I'm
Counselor
sorry, I don't
Bartley.
mean, I'm just frustrated with this. I've been fighting with these people for
I
15
know,
years.
I know. Counselor
Well,
Bartley?
I was only going to suggest just for the committee to discuss if we could do two things just to amend this order, so we can get it back to the full city council to move it along a little bit. I was just only going to suggest that we amend it to advise HPD to start strictly, to send a patrol car there as resources allow, to enforce the existing speed limit and any amended speed limit. That's one. And second of all, I'm happy to, I'm not a member of that club, just so you know, but I'm happy to reach out to their Board of Governors in a written letter and put it in writing. I don't know your name, sir, but I'll get your name and your address, and I know 16 Old Ferry. I'll copy you on the letter, and I'll copy the chief of police, and we'll let them know. Hopefully that'll help a little bit.
Whatever you can do to help,
Sure.
that's what
So-
I'm here for,
Yeah,
and I greatly appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No, and this just comes in the form of a suggestion.
I'm just suggesting right now. That's up here.
Also, but on some of the streets where nothing else would work, if all the residents get together and sign a petition to get a speed hump, those work.
If you're willing to do that,
They work.
I'll have all 7 signatures in here this
Well,
coming week.
Well,
See Todd.
you would need to get the petition from your neighbors and sign it yourself, and have your counselor, Todd McGee, bring the petition forth.
Okay.
And you can get that from the city clerk, who he knows very well.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, you get the petition from the city clerk, which the office is right behind you. And
But that truly is the most effective thing I've seen.
Get a petition, and we'll go, and I'll get all the time again, we'll go from there.
There you go.
It's another option.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But I'm just going to make an
I
amendment
know.
right now to this order to at least have it referred to HPD so they can start enforcing the speed limits.
How long have you been?
Yep.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
motion to remove item 13 from 30.
So are we doing anything else with that?
No.
Just,
No, that's
hang
nothing
on, I
else.
just
They're gonna come
refer
in for speed humps.
to PD.
But
But
do we
but
want to
what
say
are
order
we?
complied with?
Well, that's what I'm looking for.
Recommendation is install speed humps.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Referred concerned citizen back to counselor. Item 13?
Right, but are we going to call it complied with?
Yeah, well, motion to comply with as amended.
Yeah.
With recommendation for the police for speed enforcement.
Speed enforcement and to petition for speed humps.
Yep.
Just got to
Okay.
vote on it.
On the amended order, all in favor?
All right,
Move 13 from the table.
second?
All in favor?
All right,
That a stop sign be placed, filed by me, and a stop line painted at Richard Eager Drive and Whitney Ave.
motion approved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item
And that's
14
just
removed
that
from
it's
table.
missing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought we approved this one already.
but it didn't
We
happen.
just,
Okay, so I recommend that we put
Motion
one
to
up.
remove 14 from the
second?
table.
So you're recommending that we do that? So they're jumping ahead, they're in a hurry. But, okay.
Must be late.
You've won.
Yeah, it's a victory.
I gotta find out what that inside joke is. I'll catch up with you guys later. Okay, 14? All in favor?
Aye.
Filed by Counselor Bartley, the city councilor consider amending city ordinances to limit parking on the north side of Myrtle Street from the corner of Northampton Street east to the first driveway.
Motion to amend this and say limit to 1 hour parking.
Amend
So, you know, 1 hour parking,
to 1 hour parking.
strictly enforced,
Second.
Would there be a time? I mean,
all day,
all day, 24 hours? Okay.
24 hours. 1 hour parking.
So,
This,
So if it's
We
2
ha-
a.m., you come out and move the car?
so we have an amendment
well,
before us, but
okay, how about this?
Can-
How about this, 7 a.m. to,
7
no,
p.m.
strike that. Yeah, 7 a.m. to,
7?
well, that business is,
1 hour?
well, the business is open, Mr. President, until, sometimes 9 o'clock, 9 or 10 o'clock.
7 to 9, 1 hour parking.
So 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., 1 hour parking. That's very reasonable.
7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So, Yem, does that change your assessment, this amendment, which we have on the table?
I'm trying to, I don't think I have good notes on this one. How many spaces are we talking about here?
Maybe 4.
4. And that's not going to impact the two abutters? That side?
No.
Okay.
No,
Still allowed to park there.
there'll be no impact to the residents. It's really for the commercial property across the way.
They feel what, people are camping out there for the day, like school department employees, et cetera, et cetera?
Boy, right you are, Mr. President, as always, spot on as
Happened
always.
over-
Only that
and
these
Kane.
problems have been around for.
And furthermore, pre-parade week, one of those large,
The French fry guy or?
the French fry guy or the fried dough guy. Fried dough guy parks there 2 weeks beforehand, just stays there.
Yeah.
I mean, he stays there 24 hours for 2 weeks.
Got it.
So, yeah, I
No
have,
free fried dough for residents.
No, Ward 3 council gets it, no, it's not.
okay, so there's an existing 20-foot limit from the intersection now already, so we're looking at 5 spaces that will be making a 1 hour parking.
Just, Ms.
Does that look reasonable to you?
No, that's, yeah, that's.
Voice of the people, Dave
yes.
Bartley has
Yeah.
spoken.
Yeah, just so Madam Chair?
Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, so, just so I just want to make it clear, it's from that, the corner of Myrtle and Northampton
Yeah.
to that first driveway, so however we do it, we'd have to sort of make that clear to the, motorists that, okay, so
Not
so
too
whatever
close.
signage you put up there, it's got to make it,
Correct.
make that evident.
Yeah, we'll have painted on the pavement also to designate spaces.
Oh, great, so you'll stripe it for official parking spots? Oh,
Sure.
Okay, well, how do you beat that?
So I believe we have a motion that's been seconded to do this amendment.
And then we need it to be put in legal form too?
Correct.
But in legal form. And it's 7 a.m., Mr. President, Madam Chair, until,
To 9 p.m.?
To 9 p.m.
1 hour parking.
perfect, can't beat that.
Okay, so we have a motion as amended and to put into legal form. All in favor?
Aye. Oh, boy, government great.
Aye.
Motion to take
16.
16, second.
All in favor?
All right.
This order was filed by Counselor LeBron Martinez that no parking signs be placed on both sides of the street at Pequot Street in the entrance of Kelly School.
So I spoke with the principal, Jacqueline Glasheen, and she would like to have this done also, and there's plenty of parking on Winter Street, which is coming from the other side.
Motion approved?
So you're okay with this?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, make a motion to be approved.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you very much, Lem, and thank you for your patience where we had to do our public
Motion to adjourn?
hearing a second time.
No problem.
And I really appreciate your follow-through and coming in so prepared like you do. It's very helpful.
As quickly as you are.
Thank you. No, it's
I've been doing this
excellent.
for a while. You're
No.
one of the most efficient
It
I've seen.
is. We
Very
appreciate
impressive,
it.
Very impressive.
Get my sign poles right.
Oh, Dave Rundle, yeah. See you in the spring.
Motion. I thought this was going to be your favorite motion.
Yes, yes. Call the motion, call the motion.
Come on. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I thought he'd be